Sometimes the cruelest heartbreak doesn't come from losing someone, it comes from realizing they were never truly yours. Love can build a home, but lies rot the walls from within. Elena Carter had always believed she'd found her forever in Michael Reed. He wasn't just her husband, he was her calm after every storm, her reason to breathe again after years of loneliness. Their marriage had been painted in shades of devotion: candlelit dinners, weekend getaways, soft laughter under fading sunsets. Everyone said they were the perfect couple, and maybe that's why the truth hit harder, because perfection was the biggest illusion of all. The night it began to unravel. The air outside carried the scent of rain, that heavy, metallic scent that always meant something was about to change. Elena was cleaning the living room when her phone buzzed, a notification, a photo tag. Someone had tagged her husband, Michael Reed, on Facebook. She smiled absently, wiping her hands on a towel before opening it. But her smile froze the second the image loaded. It wasn't a work event. It wasn't a group photo from some conference. It was a family portrait. A man who looked exactly like Michael, same jawline, same eyes, same half-smile, standing with a woman and a little girl, no older than 8. The caption beneath it read, "Happy memories never fade, we miss you, Michael." Elena's breath caught, her heart thudded painfully as she zoomed in. The man's arm was wrapped around the woman's shoulders, a gold wedding band glinting faintly on his finger. Her phone slipped from her hand and hit the floor. That night, Michael came home late, smelling faintly of rain and cologne. "Hey, sweetheart," he said, dropping his keys in the bowl by the door. "Why are you awake? It's past midnight." Elena stared at him from the sofa, her eyes hollow. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she slid her phone across the table toward him. "Who are they, Michael?" He blinked. Then, for a fraction of a second, just one, she saw something flicker across his face. Panic. "Elena, where did you? Don't lie to me," she interrupted, voice shaking. "Who are they?" Michael inhaled slowly, his jaw tightening. "It's not what you think." Tears welled up in her eyes. "Then tell me what it is, because right now I don't even know who I'm married to." He took a step closer. "Please, calm down. Don't you dare tell me to calm down," she screamed, her voice breaking. "I saw the picture, Michael. A woman and a child, a family." "Your family?" For a moment, silence swallowed them both. The ticking clock on the wall was the only sound in the room. "Finally," he whispered, "it was a long time ago." Elena's hands trembled. "How long?" "Before you," he said. "Years before we met. I didn't tell you because she left." They both did. "It's complicated." "Complicated?" Elena's voice cracked. "You married me and built a life on top of a secret that big, and you call it complicated?" Michael ran a hand through his hair. "I thought it was buried. I thought I could move on. Sarah and I, we were young, stupid." "It didn't last." Elena stared at him, the taste of betrayal bitter on her tongue. "You buried it," she whispered. "Not just the truth, you buried them." That night, after Michael fell silent and left the room, Elena sat by the window until dawn. Rain tapped softly against the glass. She watched the world wake while hers fell apart quietly. She kept seeing the little girl's face, those eyes. Hazel, just like Michael's. The next day, Elena called her best friend, Grace Miller. "Elena, breathe," Grace said softly over the phone. "Are you sure it's really him in the photo?" "It's him," Elena whispered. "I'd know that face anywhere. Maybe talk to him again. There's always more to." "There's a child." Grace, she cut her off. "He has a daughter. He never told me." 8 years old. That means she was born before we even met." Grace exhaled. "Oh my God." Elena's voice broke. "I don't even know what's real anymore." That afternoon, while Michael was at work, Elena sat at the dining table with her laptop open. Her hands shook as she typed the name she'd seen in the caption, Sarah Reed. A dozen search results appeared: local charity events, old photos, even an obituary from 6 years ago. Sarah Reed, 34, beloved mother of Lena Reed, passed away unexpectedly. Elena's breath hitched. Sarah was dead then? Who had posted that photo yesterday? She scrolled further and froze. A new post, uploaded 2 days ago from an account named Lena. The caption read, "Found this picture of mom and dad. I wonder if he still remembers us." Elena felt the world tilt. Her husband's secret wasn't buried at all. It was alive. It had a face. It had a name, and it had just called for him that night. When Michael returned, she didn't wait. She held the printed photo in one hand and the open laptop in the other. "Your daughter," she said quietly. "Her name is Lena, isn't it?" Michael froze in the doorway. He didn't answer, didn't need to. The guilt in his eyes said everything. "Why didn't you tell me?" she whispered. "You promised me honesty. You promised me everything." He sat down, burying his face in his hands. "Because I thought I lost them. After Sarah died, I tried to reach Lena, but her grandparents took her away. They didn't want me near her. I thought she was gone from my life for good. Then why not tell me?" He lifted his head, tears glistening. "Because I wanted a fresh start, Elena. You were my chance to feel alive again. To feel forgiven." Elena shook her head slowly. "You didn't want forgiveness, Michael. You wanted to forget." And as the silence stretched between them, something inside her cracked, not a loud, visible break, but a quiet fracture, deep and permanent. The kind that changes everything. That night, while Michael slept in the guest room, Elena packed a small suitcase. She didn't leave, not yet, but she needed to know the truth. The next morning she would go find Lena Reed. Because some truths, no matter how deeply buried, always find their way to the surface. The morning light crept through the curtains, pale and cold. Elena hadn't slept a single hour, her eyes burned. Her mind restless, looping through the same thought again and again. He has a daughter, he hid her from me, and she's out there alive, searching for him. She stood in front of the mirror, tying her hair back, staring at a reflection she barely recognized. Her eyes looked older, tired. Her lips trembled as she whispered to herself, I need to see her. Michael had already left for work, or maybe just gone somewhere he didn't have to face her eyes again. Elena didn't care. She opened her laptop one more time and looked at the social media post from Lena R. The girl's profile picture was simple, a blurry selfie in a school uniform, her hair in a ponytail, shy smile on her face. It felt wrong to stare, but Elena couldn't look away. The resemblance was undeniable. Michael's sharp jawline, the same hazel eyes, the same tilt of the smile under the About section. One small line caught her attention: St. Mary's Orphan Academy, Brighton, Massachusetts. Her heart sank. An orphanage. 2 hours later, Elena stood outside the tall iron gates of St. Mary's Orphan Academy. The wind bit at her face, carrying the faint sound of children's laughter from inside. She hesitated at the entrance, clutching the small photo she'd printed: Lena with her parents, the same one she'd found online. A woman in her 50s opened the door, dressed in a gray cardigan and kind eyes that had seen too many stories. Good morning, the woman said warmly. I can't help you? Elena swallowed hard. Yes. I'm looking for a girl named Lena Reed. The woman's expression softened. Lena, yes. She's one of ours. May I ask who you are? Elena's voice wavered. I'm a friend of her father. Something flickered in the woman's gaze. Recognition. Maybe pity, she said quietly. Well, she doesn't get many visitors. Come in. The hallways smelled faintly of old books and disinfectant. Children's drawings lined the walls: stick figures, rainbows, clumsy hearts. Elena's heart twisted as she followed the woman down the corridor. She's in the garden, the woman said softly. She likes to read there. When they stepped outside, Elena saw her. A small figure sitting on a wooden bench, sunlight catching her chestnut hair. A book rested on her lap, something about stars and constellations. Elena froze. Every nerve in her body screamed that this moment wasn't real, that she was dreaming. The woman smiled faintly and said, Lena, sweetheart, someone's here to see you. The girl looked up. Her eyes, Michael's eyes, blinked curiously. Hi, Lena said shyly. Do I know you? Elena's throat tightened. No, but I think I knew your parents. Lena tilted her head, studying her. You mean my mom and dad? Elena nodded. Yes, your dad. His name is Michael, right? The girl's lips curved into a faint, uncertain smile. Yeah, but he doesn't visit anymore. Something sharp stabbed through Elena's chest. Do you remember him? She asked softly. Lena looked down at her book, tracing her finger over the page a little. He used to sing to me when I was little. My mom said he had to go away for work, but then she got sick. Her voice grew smaller. After she died, Grandma said Daddy wasn't coming back. Elena's eyes filled with tears. She wanted to reach out, to hold the girl, to say he's alive, he remembers you, but the words caught in her throat. Instead, she whispered, I think he never stopped caring, Lena. The girl looked up. Then why didn't he come back? Elena had no answer. Later, inside the orphanage office, Elena sat with the matron, Sister Agnes, trying to steady her breathing. She's bright, Sister Agnes said kindly, a quiet girl. Very observant, lost both her parents young. Her mother's family couldn't keep her. Elena's voice was barely audible. Does she know her father's alive? Not exactly. We tried contacting him years ago, the nun said with a sigh, but he never replied. We assumed he didn't want to be found. Elena closed her eyes, fighting the tears that burned behind them. Michael had lied not only to her, but to this little girl who'd spent years believing she'd been abandoned. That night, back home, Elena waited for Michael. She didn't yell this time. The anger had drained, leaving only a hollow ache. When he walked through the door, she said quietly, I met her. Michael froze, halfway taking off his coat. You what? Your daughter, Elena whispered. Lena. She's at St. Mary's Orphan Academy. She's waiting for you, Michael. She thinks you forgot her. He sank onto the couch, his face pale. You shouldn't have gone there. I had to, she snapped. Because you wouldn't. Because you let your child grow up thinking her father didn't care. She doesn't understand, he muttered, rubbing his temples. They took her away from me, Elena. Sarah's parents blamed me for everything, for Sarah's death, for the accident. Elena's eyes widened. What accident? Michael looked up slowly, his voice breaking. The night Sarah died. I was driving. The words hit like thunder. He continued, tears streaking down his face. We argued. She wanted to leave. Take Lena with her. I lost control of the car. She didn't make it. And her parents made sure I'd never see my daughter again. Elena's chest tightened painfully. So you hid it. All of it, he nodded. Because every time I looked at you, I felt like maybe I could start over, maybe I didn't deserve to lose everything. Elena shook her head. You didn't just lose your past, Michael. You erased it. The silence that followed was unbearable. Finally, Elena said softly, I can't fix what you did. But I can't unsee her face either. That little girl is your daughter and she deserves the truth. Even if it destroys us. Michael looked at her broken. Elena, please. No, she whispered, tomorrow we go together. You tell her who you are. That night, while he sat in the dark living room, Elena stood by the bedroom window, watching the rain return. Each drop against the glass sounded like a ticking clock counting down to the moment when lies would finally collide with truth. And deep down, she knew after tomorrow, nothing between them would ever be the same again. The morning came with heavy clouds, as if the sky itself was bracing for what was about to happen. Elena stood near the doorway, watching Michael tie his shoes in silence. His hands trembled slightly. Though he tried to hide it, he hadn't said much since last night, just quiet nods, deep breaths, eyes full of things he didn't have the courage to say out loud. He looked smaller now, somehow not the confident man she'd fallen in love with, but someone carrying a weight that time had only buried, not erased. You don't have to come, he said finally. His voice low. I do, Elena replied firmly, because this isn't just your past anymore, Michael. It's our truth now. He met her gaze, guilt, fear, and gratitude flickering all at once, then gave a slow nod. They left the house together. But it didn't feel like togetherness. It felt like walking beside a ghost. St. Mary's Orphan Academy looked the same as it had the day before, quiet, almost peaceful. Children played in the distance, their laughter echoing through the cold morning air. Sister Agnes met them at the entrance. Her expression was kind, but cautious. Mr. Reed, she said softly, Lena's in the art room. I can tell her you're here. Michael's throat tightened. No, please. I want to see her without warning. I don't want her to feel forced. The nun hesitated, then nodded. Very well. Just be gentle. She's been through more than most children her age. The art room smelled of paint and clay. Sunlight spilled through the tall windows, landing on shelves full of brushes and paper cranes, and there she was sitting at a small wooden table, sketching with quiet focus. Elena watched Michael freeze in the doorway. Every breath seemed to catch in his chest. His hand trembled as he reached for the frame of the door, as if steadying himself against the storm rising inside him. Lena looked up, her hazel eyes blinking curiously. Hi, she said softly. Are you looking for Sister Agnes? Michael opened his mouth, but the words wouldn't come. Elena stepped closer. Lena, this is someone who knew your mother. The girl's face lit up a little. You knew my mom? Michael's voice cracked when he finally spoke. Yes, I knew her very well. Something in his tone made Lena look at him longer this time. Her brow furrowed, studying his face. She tilted her head, eyes narrowing slightly, the way children do when they're trying to remember something half forgotten. You look familiar, she said quietly. Have I met you before? Michael's eyes glistened. He knelt down so they were face to face. You were very little, he whispered. Too little to remember. She frowned. Who are you? He took a deep, trembling breath. My name is Michael Reed. Her pencil slipped from her hand. The name hung in the air like thunder. I had a dad named Michael Reed, she whispered, her small voice cracking. But Grandma said he didn't want me. Michael's voice broke. That's not true. I never stopped wanting you. Not for a single day. Her eyes filled with tears. Then why didn't you come back? He swallowed hard. The guilt etched deep in his face. Because I made a terrible mistake, sweetheart, one that took your mom away. Her parents blamed me, and maybe they were right. I thought I was protecting you by staying away. But I was wrong. Tears streamed down his cheeks. Now I was so wrong. For a long moment, Lena just stared at him, confusion, pain, disbelief swirling in her young eyes. Then, without warning, she stood up and whispered, Go away. Michael flinched. Lena's voice rose. You left. You didn't come when I was sick, or when Mom died, or when I cried for you every night. You don't get to come back now. Elena stepped forward, instinctively wanting to comfort the girl, but Michael shook his head. His voice was soft, broken. You're right, he said. I don't deserve to be here, but I needed you to know the truth. You can hate me, Lena, you have every right to. But please don't believe I didn't love you. He slowly took something from his jacket, a small silver locket, tarnished with age. Inside was a photo of a woman and a baby. I carry this every day, he whispered. It was all I had left of you. Lena stared at the locket for a long time, her lips trembling. Then she turned and ran out the door down the hall, tears streaming behind her. Elena called out, Lena, wait, but she was gone. Sister Agnes appeared moments later. Concern etched on her face. She needs time, the nun said gently. This is a lot for her. Michael nodded weakly, his shoulders sagged under invisible weight. I should have known. I ruined it again. Elena touched his arm. No, you told her the truth. That's more than you ever did. Before he turned to her, eyes hollow. You must hate me too. She hesitated. I don't know what I feel, Michael. Maybe I hate what you did. Maybe I pity you. Maybe both. He nodded slowly, staring out the window where Lena had disappeared. I thought I could start over, he murmured, but some ghosts, they don't stay buried. They just wait for you to stop running. That night, the silence between them in the car was unbearable. Elena could feel the ache radiating off him. The kind that doesn't have words. Halfway home, she finally spoke. She's scared, Michael. But she looked at you. Really looked. There's still something there. He shook his head. No. I saw it in her eyes. She doesn't want me. Elena's voice softened. Then fight for her. Don't disappear again. Back home, Elena sat on the edge of the bed long after Michael fell asleep on the couch downstairs. She thought of Lena's trembling voice, of the anger and pain behind those young eyes, pain caused by a man she once believed incapable of cruelty, and yet she'd also seen the love there. Buried deep but real. Her phone buzzed. Suddenly a message from an unknown number. Unknown, you came today. Who are you? Her heart stopped. The profile picture was Lena's. Elena hesitated, then typed back slowly. Elena, I'm someone who cares about your father. And about you. After a long pause, another message appeared. Lena, if he loved my, why did he lie? Elena's eyes filled with tears. Elena, because he was afraid of losing you again. But he never stopped loving you, Lena. Not once. The typing dots appeared again, then stopped. Lena, can you come tomorrow? Just you. Elena's breath caught. Something was changing. She whispered into the empty room, yes, sweetheart. I'll come. Elena barely slept that night. She kept replaying the message from Lena over and over, her small trembling words echoing in her mind. Can you come tomorrow? Just you. Michael didn't know. She couldn't tell him. Not yet. Not when the wound was still fresh. Not when the girl's trust was so fragile it could shatter with one wrong move. At dawn, she slipped out of bed quietly, grabbed her coat, and left the house before Michael woke. The orphanage looked different that morning, softer, somehow, under the golden light of sunrise. Children were eating breakfast in the garden, their laughter faint in the distance. Sister Agnes greeted her with a knowing smile. She's been waiting for you, dear. Out back, near the old oak. Elena nodded. Her heart was pounding when she reached the garden. Lena was there, sitting cross-legged beneath a huge oak tree, clutching a small wooden box. She looked smaller today, more fragile, her eyes shadowed by sleeplessness. Elena approached quietly. Hey, sweetheart. Lena looked up, hesitating for a moment, then whispered, you came. I promised I would, Elena said softly, sitting beside her for a while. Neither spoke. The wind rustled through the branches above them, scattering yellow leaves over the grass. Then Lena said quietly, you said my dad loves me. Do you really believe that? Elena nodded without hesitation. Yes. More than you can imagine. He made mistakes, terrible ones, but love was never the problem, Lena. Fear was. Lena looked down at the wooden box in her hands. This was my mom's, she said. They gave it to me when I came here. I never opened it before. I was scared. Scared of what? Elena asked gently. That it would prove she hated him, or that she didn't forgive him. Elena's breath caught. Do you want to open it now? Lena hesitated, then slowly lifted the lid. Inside were a few old photos, a dried rose, and a folded envelope with a name written in faded ink. Michael. Elena's chest tightened. Your mom wrote this? Lena nodded. Before she died, Sister Agnes said she gave it to Grandma to deliver. But I guess they never did. Her hands trembled as she held out the letter. Will you read it? I don't think I can. Elena took it gently. The paper was fragile, the ink slightly blurred with age. She unfolded it carefully and began to read aloud, her voice barely above a whisper. Dear Michael, if you're reading this, it means I'm gone. And it also means you're still alive, which is all I ever prayed for. I don't know how we got here. Maybe we were too young, too proud, too broken to understand what love really meant. We both made mistakes. But I don't hate you, Michael. I never did. That night, the night of the accident, it wasn't your fault. I was angry. I said things I didn't mean. You tried to stop me, and you lost control of the car because of me. Please stop punishing yourself for that. Promise me one thing, don't run from our daughter. She needs you. Even if she grows up angry, even if she doesn't understand, she'll need to know her father fought to stay in her life. Don't let her believe she was abandoned. I forgive you, Michael. And I hope one day you'll forgive yourself too. Love, Sarah. By the time Elena finished reading, her voice was trembling. Lena sat frozen, tears spilling silently down her cheeks. She didn't hate him, she whispered. She forgave him. Elena wiped her own tears. Yes, sweetheart. She loved him. She just wanted peace for both of you. Lena looked at the letter again, her small hand shaking. I thought he left because he didn't care, but he didn't even know. Elena nodded softly. Sometimes adults make terrible choices, but that doesn't mean they stop loving you. The girl was quiet for a long time, then she said, will you bring him here? I want to give this to him myself. Elena smiled gently, Brushing a tear from Lena's cheek. I will. But only if you're ready. Lena nodded. I am. That evening, Elena came home to find Michael sitting in the same place she'd left him, the couch, head in his hands as though time had stopped moving for him. When he saw her, his eyes filled instantly with guilt. Where did you go? She took a deep breath to see Lena. He closed his eyes, pain flickering across his face. She doesn't want me there. Elena shook her head. She found something. Michael, a letter from Sarah. His eyes snapped open. What? She wrote it before she died. It's for you. Michael's voice cracked. What does it say? Elena knelt in front of him, holding his hands. It says she forgave you, that the accident wasn't your fault, and that she wanted you to fight for Lena, not hide from her. He stared at her, tears falling freely. No, that can't be. She forgave you, Michael, Elena said again, her voice breaking. She never stopped loving you. Michael buried his face in his hands and began to sob, the kind of deep, broken sound that comes from years of silence and shame. Elena wrapped her arms around him, her own tears soaking his shoulder. For the first time, she wasn't holding a liar or a stranger. She was holding a man who was finally breaking open after a lifetime of pretending to be whole. Later that night, she showed him the letter. His hands shook as he read it, tracing Sarah's handwriting with trembling fingers. I don't deserve this forgiveness, he whispered. No one ever really does, Elena replied. You just try to honor it. He looked up at her, eyes red. She wants me to fight for Lena. But what if Lena never forgives me? Then you still show up, Elena said softly, because that's what real love is, showing up, even when you're not wanted. The next morning, Michael and Elena drove back to St. Mary's together, but this time, the silence between them felt different, not heavy with lies, but heavy with something like hope. Lena waited for them by the oak tree, holding Sarah's letter in her hands. When she saw them, she hesitated, then walked slowly toward Michael. She handed him the letter. Mom wanted you to have it. Michael's lips trembled as he took it. Thank you, sweetheart. Lena looked up at him, and for the first time, her eyes weren't angry. Just sad. I'm still mad, she whispered, but I don't want you to go away again. Michael's breath caught. I won't. I swear I won't. Then, with a small uncertain motion, Lena reached out and wrapped her arms around him. It wasn't a long hug. It wasn't perfect. But it was real, and for Michael Reed, it was more forgiveness than he ever thought he'd receive in this lifetime. As Elena watched them, tears streamed silently down her face. She finally understood something she hadn't before. Love isn't about perfection or promises that never break. It's about facing the wreckage and choosing to stay anyway. And maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of healing for all of them. 3 days had passed since Michael and Lena's first embrace. 3 days of fragile peace, the kind that trembles under the weight of unspoken words. Every morning, Elena watched them from a distance as they sat under the old oak tree at St. Mary's, talking in soft, hesitant voices. Michael would bring her little things: sketchbooks, strawberry muffins, a necklace that once belonged to Sarah, and Lena, cautious but curious, was beginning to let her walls down, piece by piece. For the first time in years, Michael smiled, not the polite, practiced smile he used with Elena, but something real, the kind of smile that comes when a broken heart starts to believe in repair. And yet, Elena could still feel it, the shadow beneath the healing, because love, no matter how strong, can't rebuild trust overnight. And forgiveness has a price. That evening, as they drove home from the orphanage, Michael turned to Elena. She looks so much like Sarah, he said softly. Every time she smiles, it's like seeing her again. Elena nodded. And how does that make you feel? He gave a half-hearted laugh, like I'm being punished and blessed at the same time. Elena smiled faintly. That sounds about right. He looked at her, then really looked. You didn't have to stay. You know, after everything I did. Her gaze softened. I didn't stay for you, Michael. I stayed because of what's right. That little girl deserves both of us, not our marriage, not our past, just two people willing to show up for her. He nodded slowly. You're a better person than I ever was. She turned to the window, her voice low. Maybe I just haven't lost as much. A week later, Sister Agnes called Elena unexpectedly. Mrs. Carter, she said gently, I thought you should know someone came by the orphanage asking about Lena. A woman. Elena frowned. Who? She said her name was Evelyn Hart. She claimed she knew Sarah from the hospital. Elena's heart skipped. The hospital? Yes, before Sarah passed. Evelyn said they worked together for a few months. She left behind an envelope addressed to Michael. Elena felt a chill. What's in it? I didn't open it, Sister Agnes said, but she seemed nervous. Said it was something Sarah wanted him to have, but couldn't send before she died that evening. Elena handed the sealed envelope to Michael as they sat in the living room. His fingers trembled when he saw Sarah's handwriting again. He hesitated for a long time, just staring at the envelope. Then finally, with a shaky breath, he tore it open. Inside was a single folded note and an old hospital wristband. The note read, Michael, if you're reading this, it means you finally found your way back to Lena and maybe to yourself. There's something you never knew. The night of the accident, I wasn't angry because of the fight. I was angry because I found out the truth at the hospital. I was pregnant again. I didn't tell you because I was scared you'd feel trapped. Scared you'd look at me differently when the crash happened. I thought it was fate punishing me for my silence. If there's ever a day when you hold Lena again, tell her she wasn't alone that night. She had a baby brother one. I never got to meet. I named him in my heart. Before I died his name was Noah. Please forgive me, Sarah. The paper slipped from Michael's hands. He sat completely still, as if time itself had frozen around him. Elena picked up the note, reading it silently, her breath catching on every word. She was pregnant? Michael nodded slowly, tears sliding down his face. A son? I didn't know. His voice cracked like glass. She was carrying our son, and I killed them both. Elena grabbed his shoulders. No. You didn't kill them, Michael. It was an accident. He looked at her, broken. How do I live with this? How do I look at Lena now, knowing she lost more than just her mother that night? You live, she said firmly. You live for her. For Sarah. For Noah. That's the only way you make it mean something. Later that night, Elena found Michael sitting alone outside, staring at the stars. He whispered without turning, I keep thinking about the name. Noah. I used to tell Sarah that if we ever had a son, I'd teach him how to sail. She used to laugh, said he'd probably hate the water. Elena sat beside him. Maybe he's sailing somewhere now, somewhere peaceful. Michael smiled faintly through his tears. Maybe. He turned to her. Do you think I should tell Lena? Elena hesitated. She's young, Michael. But one day she deserves to know. The truth hurt us, but it's also what set us free. He nodded, wiping his face. You're right. No more secrets. Days passed. Slowly, painfully, the three of them, Michael, Elena, and Lena, began to weave a fragile bond. Lena would call Michael Dad sometimes, still awkwardly, but it was a start. One afternoon, they sat together in the orphanage garden. Lena was painting a small wooden box. What's that for? Michael asked gently. She smiled. It's for Mom. I'm putting her letter inside. He nodded, eyes misting. That's beautiful. She looked up. Can I put something else in it too? Of course. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a tiny paper sailboat she'd folded herself. For Noah, she whispered. Michael's breath caught. How did you? Elena smiled softly. I told her. Lena handed the box to Michael. Mom's letter said we should remember the people we love. So this way, they'll always be with us. Michael took the box in his trembling hands. You have your mother's heart, he whispered. Lena looked at him and for the first time, smiled fully. And yours. As the sun set behind them, Elena stood quietly, watching the two most broken souls she knew begin to heal together for the first time in a long time. She didn't feel like an outsider in their story. She felt like its witness, its anchor, and deep down, she knew. Sometimes forgiveness isn't loud, it's quiet. A hand held a little longer. A tear shared. A promise kept. 2 months had passed since Michael received Sarah's final letter. 2 months of slow rebuilding, of learning how to live again, not perfectly, but honestly. The house that once echoed with silence now carried softer sounds. Lena's laughter in the kitchen, the clinking of mugs, the quiet hum of a family trying to become one. Every Sunday, they visited the cemetery. Lena would bring flowers. Michael would sit in silence, and Elena, she would stand back, letting them have that sacred space between past and present. But on one of those quiet Sundays, as the wind danced through the trees and Lena placed a single white lily on her mother's grave, they heard a voice, low, sharp, and trembling with something between grief and rage. You have no right to be here. They turned. A woman stood behind them, mid-40s tall, with dark auburn hair streaked with gray. Her eyes were piercing, burning. Michael's breath caught. Clara. Elena frowned. Who is she? Sarah's sister, Michael whispered. Clara Hayes. The name alone carried a storm. She had been estranged from Sarah long before the accident, a bitter fallout over family expectations and choices. But now standing before them, grief had hardened her into something fierce. Clara's eyes landed on Michael first. So it's true. You're parading around with her. She nodded at Elena while pretending to mourn. My sister? Elena took a careful breath. Clara. I understand you're upset, but don't. Clara snapped. Don't speak her name like you knew her pain. Michael stepped forward, his voice calm but tight. Clara, please. Sarah's gone. I'm doing my best to take care of Lena. Her face twisted. Lena? You mean the daughter you abandoned? The words hit him like a blow. Lena shrank behind Elena, her small fingers clutching Elena's sleeve. Clara's tone softened slightly as she looked at the girl. Sweetheart, you don't remember me, do you? I used to hold you when you were a baby. Your mother loved you more than anything. She would never want him near you. Michael's jaw tightened. That's enough, Clara. But she wasn't done. Do you even know what your mother went through? The night she died, she was on her way to see me. She'd found out what you did and she wanted to take Lena away from you for good. Elena's heart pounded. That's not true. Oh, isn't it? Clara's voice trembled. Sarah called me that night. She said she was leaving him. Said she couldn't forgive his lies anymore. Michael froze. She called you? Clara nodded. Yes, she said she'd found out about the other woman. Elena felt the ground tilt beneath her. You're saying she knew about me? Clara's eyes flicked toward her cold. She didn't know your name, but she knew there was someone. And she said, and I'll never forget this, he's already moved on. Clara, I can feel it. Silence, only the wind dared to move that night. The house felt heavy again. Lena had gone to bed early, confused and quiet. Michael sat by the window, staring out into the dark. Elena placed a cup of tea beside him. You okay? He didn't answer right away. She called Clara that night. I never knew. All these years I thought she died angry because of the accident. But it was more than that. She thought I'd betrayed her before she even died. Elena's voice trembled. You hadn't, though. We met after. He looked at her, eyes filled with guilt. But I had emotionally, Elena. I was distant, tired of the fights, tired of the grief. Maybe she felt it before I ever realized it. Elena's throat tightened. You can't keep punishing yourself forever, Michael. You loved her. You love Lena. That's what matters now. He nodded weakly. But his voice cracked. And what if I'm just good at destroying the people I love? She leaned in, her voice barely a whisper. Then start being good at keeping them. The next day Clara showed up again, this time. At their doorstep she held an old folder, worn and dusty. I didn't come to fight, she said flatly. I came to tell the truth. Michael hesitated, then nodded for her to come in. Inside, Clara opened the folder and placed several old papers on the table. Medical forms, a letter and a photograph. It was Sarah, standing beside a young boy. Michael blinked. Who is that? Clara exhaled shakily. His name was Adam. He was Sarah's foster child. Before Lena was born. Elena frowned. I didn't know she fostered anyone. She didn't tell you because it broke her heart. Clara said the boy's biological family took him back after 2 years. Sarah never recovered. She started believing she wasn't meant to be a mother. Michael rubbed his temples. God, she carried so much I never saw. Clara nodded. And when Lena was born, she said Lena was her second chance. That's why she was terrified of losing her. Her voice softened. You should know Sarah never hated you, Michael. She was just scared. Scared you'd stop loving her the way you used to. Tears gathered in his eyes. She wasn't wrong for a long time. The three of them sat in silence. Finally, Clara turned to Elena. You're not the enemy, you know. I see the way you care for Lena. Sarah would have wanted her loved like that. Elena's voice trembled. Then why come here like that? Why try to tear us apart? Clara looked down. Because I lost everyone. Elena, my sister, my niece, my parents. I came here angry because grief has nowhere else to go. But when I saw you with her, I realized maybe Sarah didn't lose everything after all. Elena reached across the table, gently touching Clara's hand. She didn't. Because her love still lives in all of us. That evening, as the sun fell behind the hills, Michael took Lena to the garden. He handed her the photograph of Sarah and Adam. Who's that? She asked curiously. That's Adam, Michael said softly. He was someone your mom loved very much before you. He taught her how to love fearlessly. Lena smiled. Then he's part of our family too. Michael nodded, his heart full. Yes, he is. She took the photo, placed it in her small box beside the paper sailboat, and whispered, now we're all together. Wrote in her journal, some stories don't end when the truth is found. They end when forgiveness becomes louder than pain. She looked over at Michael and Lena asleep on the couch, father and daughter, side by side, and she smiled through her tears. Because even though the past had come home, it hadn't come to destroy them. It had come to finish the story. A gentle rain was falling that morning, soft, steady, cleansing, the kind that makes the air smell like renewal. Elena stood by the window, watching the drops slide down the glass like quiet tears. It had been 6 months since Clara's visit, 6 months since everything changed again. The house felt warmer now, not because life was perfect, but because it was honest. Michael had sold his old company and taken a teaching job at the community college. Lena was thriving, full of light and questions. And Clara, surprisingly, had become a steady presence, visiting every other weekend, her anger slowly replaced by peace. Elena smiled faintly as she watched Michael helping Lena with her school project at the kitchen table. He was patient now, softer. There was a gentleness in him she hadn't seen before, the kind that comes from breaking and rebuilding with purpose. But beneath her smile, something else lived, a quiet ache, because even after all they had survived, she still didn't know if their love could truly last. That night, after Lena had gone to bed, Michael found Elena sitting on the porch, wrapped in a blanket. He joined her in silence, the night air cool and still. Finally, he said, "You've been distant lately." She looked at him. Not distant, just thinking. He nodded slowly. About us? Yes, he swallowed. You regret staying? She shook her head. No, I regret that we built something on half-truths. I regret how much it hurt us both. But staying? She sighed. No, Michael. Staying saved me too. He turned toward her, his voice soft. Then what scares you now? She hesitated. That one day when the past stops hurting, we'll forget what it taught us. Michael reached for her hand. Then we'll promise never to forget. Elena looked at him, eyes glistening. A promise only works if we both mean it. He smiled faintly. Then let's start now. No more ghosts between us. A few days later, The family visited the coast, the same one Michael and Sarah had once dreamed of sailing. Lena had been begging for weeks to see the ocean, and Elena thought it might help close the last quiet chapter of their healing. They reached the beach at sunset. The horizon burned gold. Waves whispering secrets only the sea could keep. Lena ran ahead, squealing as the water lapped at her feet. Clara and Elena watched her from a distance, smiling. She looks free, Clara said softly. She is, Elena replied. She doesn't carry the weight we do. Clara glanced at her. You gave her that freedom, Elena. You and Michael. Elena shook her head. We just stopped lying. Clara smiled. That's harder than it sounds. They fell silent as Michael approached, holding a small wooden box, the same one Lena had made for Sarah and Noah. He knelt in the sand, opening it gently. Inside were the paper sailboat, Sarah's letter, and a tiny folded note, this one written by Lena. Dear Mom, Michael read aloud, voice trembling. I hope you see us now. Daddy smiles more. Aunt Clara hugs me every day. Miss Elena makes pancakes that always burn, but I love them anyway. I think you'd like her. We all miss you. But we're okay now. He closed the box, tears catching the dying sunlight. Then he stood, looked out at the sea, and whispered, thank you. Together they buried the box near the water's edge, not as a grave, but as a promise. A promise that love would not die where truth lived. That night, back at the beach house, Elena sat beside the fire, writing in her journal. Michael joined her, placing 2 cups of tea on the table. What are you writing? He asked. She smiled faintly. The last page. He raised an eyebrow. Of what? Our story. He looked puzzled. I didn't know it had an ending. She closed the notebook softly. It doesn't. Just changes. He nodded, understanding dawning in his eyes. Then maybe that's what love really is, not something you finish, but something you keep rewriting until it finally feels right. Elena looked at him, her voice low and sure. Then let's keep writing, Michael. Together. He reached out, brushed a tear from her cheek, and whispered, together. The next morning, as dawn broke over the ocean, Elena woke to find Lena sitting on the porch steps, sketching. What are you drawing? She asked gently. Lena turned the page around, a simple picture of 3 people holding hands, standing beside a sailboat. Above them, she had written, the reeds and the woman who made us whole. Elena's eyes filled. That's beautiful, sweetheart. Lena grinned. Daddy says you're our anchor. Elena smiled through her tears. And what does that mean? It means even when the sea gets rough, Lena said proudly, we don't drift away. Later that day, as they prepared to leave, Clara hugged them all. Goodbye. You've done something impossible, she whispered to Elena. You've turned tragedy into peace. Elena smiled softly. Maybe peace isn't found, Clara. Maybe it's made one truth at a time. Clara nodded, tears glistening. Sarah would be proud of you. Elena looked toward the horizon. I hope she knows. As the car pulled away from the beach, Elena looked back one last time. The tide had risen, waves washing gently over the buried box, carrying Sarah's words, Noah's memory, and the weight of every unspoken forgiveness out into the sea. For a moment, Elena closed her eyes and whispered a final promise to herself. No more hiding. No more fear, only love that tells the truth. And somewhere between the crash of waves and the whisper of wind, it felt as though Sarah's voice answered, soft, distant, and full of grace. Then you finally found what I never could. Peace. Epilogue. 1 year later, the sun was warm, the garden alive with spring. Elena stood beside Michael, watching Lena play with a group of children under the oak tree, the same one where it had all begun. Michael slipped his hand into hers. You think she'll remember all this when she grows up? Elena smiled. Not everything, but she'll remember love. That's enough. He nodded, eyes gentle. You ever think about what Sarah would say if she saw us now? Elena looked toward the sky, her voice soft. I think she'd say thank you. And as the wind swept through the leaves, it almost felt like an answer, a whisper, a blessing, a release. The past had come home, the truth had broken them, but love, real, imperfect, enduring love, had built them back stronger. The end. My husband hid his first family from me, but his secret couldn't stay buried forever. A story of forgiveness, loss, and love that survives the truth.